everyone, a very warm welcome. This is the news on NTA International. My name is Justin Abemini and Anna Olainka is my sign language interpreter. First, let's look at the headlines. As the London Bridge is down, world stands still for Queen Elizabeth II's final homeward journey. President Buhari in New York for 77th session of United Nations General Assembly to host Global Investment Forum. And Nigerian Hydrological Services wants communities along River Niger in Kwara, Niger and Kogi states to relocate over opening of dams. Queen Elizabeth II's coffin has been lowered into the royal vault in St. George's Chapel in the grounds of Windsor Castle. Uche Gochukwu reports that during the committal service, the crown jewels were taken from it and the ceremonial wand of office broken and put in their place.
King Charles III led a somber procession behind his mother's coffin from Westminster Hall to the Abbey. As the Queen's coffin entered Westminster Abbey, the building in which she got married and crowned Queen 70 years ago, the choir sang lines which have been used at every state funeral since the early 18th century. The Dean of Westminster, who led the service, expressed gratitude to the congregation of about 2,000 people, including world leaders and royalty.
People of loving service are rare in any walk of life. Leaders of loving service are still rarer. But in all cases, those who serve will be loved and remembered when those who cling to power and privileges are long forgotten.
The Queen's coffin proceeded to Wellington Arch at London's Hyde Park Corner to the solemn toll of Big Ben for a more intimate commuter service at Windsor Castle. A smaller-scale event held in Westminster, attended by a smaller congregation, which will lead to the Queen's burial after a private family service, which will be more intimate. All the processions were earlier witnessed by a large crowd of world leaders, royals, and well-wishers. Uche Gochukwu, NTA News.
And in Yoruba tradition, one of the king's senior and close aides is to die with him whenever he joins his ancestors. Such senior palace official is referred to as Abuja. In this report, Adebola Brooksling takes a look at the roles and responsibility of Lord Chamberlain Baron Parker, who was Queen Elizabeth II's most senior aide, and what becomes of him as the Queen is laid to rest in the United Kingdom.
The Abobaku title, which literally means he who dies with the king, depicts one of the ancient tradition of the Yorubas, mostly from southwest Nigeria, a position held by the most senior palace official. Observing the tradition, the Abobaku will have to die by any means after the demise of the king or regents. Despite modernization, observers say the tradition still exists, but not well pronounced like in the past century.
We have to remember very clearly that many of these things are shrouded in utmost secrecy, utmost confidentiality, in deference and in reverence to the cultures and traditions of the people. And that's why you find this commonality between what is transpiring in Britain and what has been transpiring in Nigeria as well. These things are historical. Sometimes you also see that it can be very problematic or difficult trying to stop them.
60-years-old Baron Parker, the most senior staff of royal household, who can be likened to the Abobaku of England, was the Director General of the Intelligence Service from 2013 to 2020, before he was appointed by the late Queen as the new Lord Chamberlain. He was formally welcomed to the post by the Queen in a ceremony held at Windsor Castle, making it the second public engagement carried out by the monarch since the death of her husband. He assumed the role of Lord Chamberlain on April 1 after a appeal who had served in the post for 14 years. Organizing the Queen's ceremonial and public programs, which include overseeing garden parties, state visits, royal weddings, and the state opening of Parliament, are some of his roles. This position gave him the privilege of being by the Queen's side when she is being buried after her funeral service. As part of the tradition, the Lord Chamberlain supervises the removal of the imperial state crown and the sovereign's orb and scepter from the top of the coffin by the crown jeweler, separating the Queen from her crown for the final time. Performing his last duty to the late monarch, Baron Parker stepped forward, took a bow, and broke his staff of office and placed it on the coffin. The breaking of the white staff signaled the end of Lord Baron service to the sovereign as her most senior official in the royal household, a tradition that dates back to 70 years ago when the Earl of Clarendon broke his staff over King George VI's grave. Well, unlike in the Yoruba tradition, Baron Parker, the Lord's Chamberlain, will neither be killed nor commit suicide, but will step aside as one of the aides in the palace. Adebola, Brooks Lane, NTA News.
Now, the coming together of leaders from different parts of the globe to celebrate the life of late Queen Elizabeth II and attend her funeral is a show of solidarity and goodwill by people from around the world. It is also a testament to the brotherhood of nations, according to Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Professor Osinbajo stated this on Monday in London during a media chat with journalists after attending the state funeral service of the late Queen of England at Westminster Abbey.
This has been very ennobling, very strengthening, and I'm sure that the King Charles himself felt, somewhat, not just the honor of having so many people come by, but also the reassurance that there is a brotherhood across the world, and that the Commonwealth remains strong. Not this time, Commonwealth of free nations who, willingly subscribe to coming together, to work together to achieve, sometimes disparate political objectives, but fair economic objectives. So this is excellent. And of course, one wishes King Charles very, very well indeed. I mean, I think we're all anxious that he succeeds.
The Vice President then prayed for a successful reign for King Charles III, wishing that King Charles very well indeed, and I think we are now all anxious that he succeeds. Well, now joining us in the studio to discuss further on the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II is a political analyst and the acting head, Department of International Relations, Bayes University, Abuja, Dr. Adoyo Malen. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on NTA International.
Good evening.
Yes. Now, looking at the reign of royalty since the death of Queen Elizabeth II, what do you make out of it?
Well, it showcased Britain's rich cultural background. It depicts the resolve of the British people to continue to give credence to the stool, the traditional institution of that country. And it speaks volumes about the unity of the United Kingdom. After several years of practicing monarchy as an institution, they have been able to weather all the storm and come out stronger. It's a very big plus to the entire United Kingdom.
Yes, for a close look at the funeral, not many Nigerians expected the cultural aspects of the funeral. What's your impression about the monarchical style of governance in Britain?
Well, it's an institution that have stayed for several centuries, and one thing I would say is that the British have reformed in virtually every other area, except not much has been achieved in terms of their monarchy style of administration. The Queen has done a lot to bring a lot of conduct and a lot of respect to the British institution. Having served for almost 52 years as Queen of England, she has done a lot during her reign. There were decolonization in Africa, and she has strengthened the Commonwealth of nations and have continued to provide good leadership. So the Queen, to my mind, has been able to increase the admiration that the world has for the British Crown, and we hope that Prince Charles will continue in that stead. I know that the institution for a very long time will be very relevant in world affairs. And you can see from the way the world has responded and the way the funeral has become a global event, that Britain will continue to play a very, very important role in world affairs.
Now, still talking about the cultural aspects of the funeral, as we've seen, do you see any difference of this when it comes to Africa too?
Yes, just like I read the prologue some minutes ago, where in the Yoruba culture, they have to sacrifice the closest person to the queen or the head, to the king or the head of the staff, domestic staff. Just like the analyst said on television a short while ago, in the British one, you saw how it is done without necessarily taking the life of the person who is very close to the queen. You saw how the staff was broken and placed on the coffin. I'm talking about Chamberlain. So you see that it's slightly different from the African perspective. A lot of Nigerians, having not experienced a funeral of this magnitude, don't forget that Queen Elizabeth has been on the throne since 1952. And most people grew up without seeing this type of funeral. And so most Nigerians and also most Africans do not know that the British also have a rich culture. I saw a picture of when a white ram was being pulled during one of the procession at Buckingham Palace. I saw how people were reacting on Twitter and everything. No, they have their own culture. They're not as crude and as diabolic as it is being done in some African society. But we give it to the British. They have been able to sustain their traditional institution. They have been able to sustain their culture, and the world is learning. And it's also a big lesson to us in Africa that yes, our cultural aspects that are very good that we can showcase to the world, we should continue to uphold it. Culture in itself is also part of life. So we must try also to showcase aspects of our culture that the world can learn from. I think with this funeral, a lot of people have learned a lot about how to preserve and to sustain cultural practices that will endure.
Okay, now the Queen served 70 years. Do you think the shoe left behind by Queen Elizabeth will be too big for King Charles to wear?
Well, the shoe will be big, no doubt. The Queen left indelible footprints on the side of time. She has been one of the most charismatic and vocal leaders in the world. She has continued to sustain the relationship among Commonwealth countries. She has been able to sustain relationship between the UK and the United States and other Western allies. She has also been able to reach out to a lot of countries across the world, and the shoe definitely will be very big. But however, I think Charles, having lived with the Queen and having played this prominent role, especially in the last few decades. In fact, before the demise of the Queen, Charles was already being given the role of looking after the Commonwealth some few years ago. So Charles will step in. There is a big shoe, but I think he has been groomed to be able to perform and to be able to carry out the functions. And I think he will carry it out diligently, just as the Queen would have done.
Now, talking about the impact, what do you think will be the effect of the Queen's death on the Commonwealth nations?
Well, there will be a lot of impact because the Queen, like I said, has a lot of charisma. I listened to an interview by our old Chief Emeka Anyoku, who talked about how the Queen related with Commonwealth members, especially how she provided purposeful leadership to the Commonwealth. Her personal touch, her humane nature will definitely be missed. And the charisma with which she carried along and interacted with most of the world leaders will be greatly missed. However, that is not to say the Commonwealth is an institution. And just like the Vice President said some while ago, that institution is both economic, is both political in nature. And Prince Charles will have to galvanize the Commonwealth to attain what objective that it has set for itself. So yes, it's a tall order, but it is not. It is the order of the Commonwealth is achievable, and I think that the Commonwealth will grow stronger under King Charles and become a very, very important part of the international system.
Well, Dr. Abdoye, thank you so much for your time with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Well, that has been Dr. Abdoye, the political analyst and the acting head Department of International Relations based University in Abuja. On to NTA International. We'll take a break now. The news continues in a moment. To stay with us.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Forget last season, forget the winners and the losers, forget every moment that stole the show, because this is a brand new season on GoTV, and it's going to be bigger and better than any season before it, with over 7 leagues and top competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seats in the house this new football season. Get a decoder, GoTenna, plus 1 month GoTV Max for 6,900 Naira only. Bigger season, greater football. GoTV, love it.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. President Muhammadu Buhari is in New York, United States, ahead of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly. State House correspondent Damusambu has details.
This year's General Assembly, which begins on Tuesday, has as its theme a watershed moment, transformative solutions to interlocking challenges. Discussions will, amongst others, center on the war in Ukraine, the energy crisis, climate action, ending the COVID-19 pandemic, and transforming education. President Muhammadu Buhari is scheduled to address the world leaders on Wednesday, certainly for the last time as an elected leader of the country.
I'm sure that in a way he will be saying goodbye to the assembly, and of course that will be tied to the general election. So he is going to reiterate the fact that the elections in Nigeria are going to be peaceful, are going to be free, are going to be fair. It's an opportunity for the president to bring forth Nigerian issues which have global implications, and to also address global issues that have Nigerian implications. There is no greater platform than the United Nations General Assembly. It's a global platform, and the president is going to make the best use of it to look at issues as they affect Nigeria, global issues as they affect Nigeria, and Nigerian issues as they have global implications.
The Nigerian leader will also participate in high-level meetings and side events, including the Nigeria International Economic Partnership Forum, convened by the federal government in partnership with Africa Business Roundtable. This is to open up the country's economy to international capital and attract foreign direct investment.
Nigeria has vast opportunities, but there are challenges which have been hindering and hampering those opportunities. So this is a platform for Nigeria to then talk to global CEOs, business leaders, and tell them these and these and these are the things you can do with our country. So it's an opportunity for Nigeria to make a good harvest.
The president will also attend other key events on a practical approach to sustainable durable solutions organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, as well as the EFCC NEPAD program on combating illicit financial flows. From New York, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Good macroeconomic policies and special interventions have seen Nigeria through 2 economic recessions. While the recovery process has been strengthened, international partnerships have been fostered to consolidate on the gains. The latest is the 2nd edition of Nigeria International Economic Partnership Forum, to hold on Thursday in New York, United States of America, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Benny Adams reports that President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to hold talks with global leaders at the event.
Investing in humanity is investing in our collective survival. With this in mind, we have incorporated the public-private partnership model into our economic recovery plan to attract private sector participation in the financing and operations of critical economic and social infrastructure. This measure is already helping to mitigate COVID-19 triggered capital flight and decline in grant and development financing.
That was President Muhammadu Buhari in France, November last year, wooing investors around the globe to come and invest in Nigeria. While the gains of that interaction is being harvested across the country today, the 2nd edition of the Nigerian International Economic Partnership Forum is set to hold in New York, United States of America on Thursday, on the sidelines of the ongoing 77th United Nations General Assembly. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the forum is expected to draw the presence of world leaders in politics, economy, media, as well as civil society organizations to focus on the vast economic potential of Nigeria as it relates to issues around the post-COVID-19 recovery and financing priorities. Conversations around growing Nigeria's agriculture for food security and access to export market, with special focus on the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war and its opportunities. Scaling up education financing, healthcare, and investment in Nigeria's oil and gas sector, with emphasis on gas market, plant, parks, as well as reforms in the sector will be brought to the table. The global leaders are also expected to deliberate on financing Nigeria's infrastructure, with emphasis on developing farm-to-markets, farm-to-ports, and export transport corridors. Others are rail, road and air network upgrade and expansion, including dedicated airports for exports, power generation, transmission, and distribution. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
Now, the National Industrial Court, Abuja, has fixed a ruling on the interlocutory injunction, praying the court to compel the striking university lecturers to suspend their prolonged industrial action pending the determination of the substantive suit. The matter was filed by the Minister of Labour on behalf of the federal government, and Olabude Arewa reports.
At the Zoom sitting on the suit between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities this Monday, counsel to the federal government reminded the court of the pending interlocutory injunction to compel the Academic Staff Union of Universities to return to work pending the determination of the substantive matter. Counsel to ASU objected to the motion, saying there was no urgency in the federal government's interlocutory injunction, as the claimants have slept over their rights to assert urgency over a matter that has been in the last 7 months. Again further, counsel to ASU told the court that the claimants ought to have approached the Industrial Arbitration Panel first as a condition precedent in accordance with the rules of courts. In the bench ruling, presiding judge Justice Polycarp Aman said the matter slated for the day's proceedings was a ruling on the interlocutory injunction and should take precedence.
Irreparable losses, unquantifiable damages that are being done to the educational sector, that while this matter is going on, that the court should restrain them at the moment, let students go back to school, let innocent students, millions of students who are not parties to this matter, go back to school. But again, as I said, our clients are most willing to have this strike called off today.
Meanwhile, the court has slated Wednesday for ruling on the interlocutory injunction, while it has slated Friday for ruling on the status of the other interested parties seeking to be joined in the suit. In Abuja, Olabude Arewa, NTA News.
The Nigerian Hydrological Services has advised communities along the River Niger in Kwara, Niger and Kogi states to relocate. The agency's warning is coming as a result of a discharge of water from Kainji and Jeba hydro dams located in Niger State. The dams are releasing thousands of gallons of water per minute that could lead to the overflow of River Niger.
Dam at about 20 kilometers downstream, Jeba Dam, both of them are spilling. Likewise, Shiruru Dam on River Kaduna, which is built within Niger State, all flowing into River Niger system. That implies that the communities or states downstream from Kainji, Jeba, Shiruru are going to be flooded. We have listed some of the names of those communities that we should be prepared to relocate. The state government should be able to do that, to relocate those citizens.
This is where we end the news, but before we go, remember to connect with the NTA and the campaign against rape and rapists. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Justin Bermi and Anna Olenka is the sign language interpreter. Bye for now.